Welcome to Unit 1 on first declension nouns and Lesson 1 on noun cases. So just as a reminder, whenever I ask a question, just pause the video, think of the answer, and then turn the video back on. So first we're going to review nouns. So what is a noun? A noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. So for example, a marker or a whiteboard or the name John are all examples of nouns. Now in English, nouns play different roles in sentences. They might be subjects, direct objects, indirect objects, but in that sentence, they're going to play different jobs. So we're going to figure out those noun roles in this sentence. Mom gave Bob's car to Dave in the morning. So first, who is our sentence about? It's about Mom, and we call this our subject. What did Mom do? She gave, and this is our verb. And what did she give? The car. So this car is called our direct object. It's what she gave. Whose car did she give? Bob's car. And this is called a possessive. So in English, oftentimes when you see that apostrophe S, that indicates possession. Then, who did she give the car to? To Dave. Now this is going to be an indirect object. You may have learned that this would be an object of the preposition because to is a preposition. But in Latin, oftentimes we see the word to before a noun, and that's actually an indirect object when we're studying Latin. So just make sure that when you're learning these Latin sentences and when you're translating, that you translate this as an indirect object, not object of the preposition. And then we have one more noun, morning, which is an object of the preposition because in is a preposition. So these are our noun roles that they can play. Subject, possessive, indirect object, direct object, and object of the preposition. Now in language, we must either have word order or endings to tell these differences apart. So in English, we have word order, right? These words are in a particular order to tell us a particular thing. If we were to mix all these words up, you would now have a completely different meaning. But in Latin, we have endings, and the role of the noun is described in that ending. So in Latin, these noun endings are part of different cases. And those cases, which are right over here, are the same thing as the noun roles, but they take on a different name. And when you learn about endings, there's a different ending for each of those noun roles. So in this lesson, you're going to be learning these 5 Latin cases which correspond to the noun roles. So we have nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and ablative, and they mean the same thing as these. They're just different words. And in a lot of other ancient languages besides Latin, they use these terms as well to refer to those noun roles. So it's important for you to learn these terms, and you're going to be seeing them a lot when you're translating. So try to memorize these or learn a song to help you. That might be good, but whatever you can to learn those. So we're going to go back and label our sentence with the Latin word. So we had subject for mom here. In Latin, we call that the nominative. We have our direct object, we would say in English, but in Latin, we would call that accusative. And then our possessive here is genitive. Now I'm just abbreviating all these, but you could write out the whole word if you want to. Indirect object, we call dative. And object of the preposition, we call ablative. So these are our 5 Latin noun cases that correspond to the noun roles. So now we're going to go through the exercises together, and I'll just be demonstrating for you how to get started on each one. So we're going to start with exercise 1.1. So here you're going to draw a line and match each case to the noun role that it corresponds to. So for the first one, we have dative, and that is the indirect object. So you're just going to match that. Then we're going to underline the noun and label the correct cases for this exercise. So for the example, number 1, we have John gave an apple to Mary on Sunday. And you can see each of the nouns are already underlined. And so our sentence is about John. So that's called the subject. We'd call that the subject, but it's the nominative. Gave an apple, direct object, so we call it accusative. To Mary, this is one of those, you might think it's object of the preposition, but it's actually dative because it's what he's giving, who he's giving it to. So to Mary, dative. And then Sunday is an object of a preposition, so we call that ablative. And now I just want to go through number 4. We have the doctor told Peter the bad news about the virus. So first we want to underline our nouns. So who is our sentence about? The doctor. What did he tell? The news. And he told it to Peter. And then we have the word virus, which comes after our preposition. So an object of the preposition. So now we know our sentence is about the doctor, which in English we call that a subject, but in Latin we'll call that nominative. He told the news, so we call that direct object, but in Latin we call it an accusative. He told the news to Peter, or told Peter the news, either way, indirect object, but we call that dative. And then we have virus, which is an object of the preposition, so in Latin we call that ablative. In exercise 1.3, you're going to write a simple sentence of your own and then draw a picture of it. So just come up with any sentence. It could be like, I go to the park in the afternoon with my mom. Just anything like that. And then you can label your sentence. Each of those nouns, label them with the correct Latin case. And then for exercise 1.4, under the challenge section, we're just going to do the first sentence together. So once again, you're underlining the nouns, and then we're going to write which case they are. So first we have Dad, that's who our sentence is about. And Dad, we call that a subject, but in Latin we call that nominative. So you could write subject and nominative both under there if that's helpful for you. My dad wanted to go, those are our verbs, on a date. Now the word on is the preposition, so date is going to be object of the preposition, which we'd call ablative. With my mother, so now we have another preposition with, mother is another object of a preposition, it's ablative again, and for her birthday. That's ablative once again because we have another preposition, and the birthday follows after that. So once again, before moving on to more lessons, make sure you practice these Latin cases, memorize them, do whatever you can to learn which noun role corresponds to which case.